This is FARFETCH Threads, our people podcast, where you can hear the real stories about life as a Farfetcher.
Hello, and welcome to FARFETCH Threads, our people podcast. I'm Santiago Soto, Santi for short, and today I'll be talking to Aline Rego and Carla Sampayo Goyo, the co-chairs of our FARLAN network, our FARFETCH Latin American Network. And we'll be discussing a bit about the Latin American culture here at FARFETCH and the actions that we're doing to create a community around that culture. Carla, Aline, how are you? How's it going?
Hi, Santi. Everything is great. I'm super excited to be here today with you and to be able to share with everyone the most we can about our wonderful Latin American culture in FARFETCH.
Same, Santi. I'm so excited to be here.
Amazing. Love the energy. I'm glad that you guys are here. Happy to have this space. So to kind of get it rolling, I wanted to ask you guys, first of all, if you can tell us where you're from, and then we're going to do a small little informational game. Want our listeners to know about what we're doing and where we're from, specifics.
Amazing. So I'm from Venezuela. I'm from Barquisimeto, which is north central of Venezuela. And I was born and raised there, and I came to Portugal 6 years ago.
Hi, Santi. I'm Aline. I'm from Recife, Brazil, in the northeast, and very hot and humid. I've been in FARFETCH for 15 months and living also in Porto, Portugal, for the past 2 years.
Amazing. It's great to have you guys. And what I wanted to do, since we have such a diverse and fun background here, I wanted to know if there's any specific word from your country that you'd like to share with the public.
Of course. Like one of my favorite ones, and I always say, like people in FARFETCH that know me must have heard me say this a million times, like chévere, chévere, which means nice.
That's a very Venezuelan word. Wait, can you give me an example? Can you use it in a sentence? How would I use chévere if I'm not with it?
Great, I can give you an example. Like, last night party was chévere.
All right.
Yeah, it's like cool or nice. And that outfit looks so chévere on you. That person is chévere. That's also to refer to people that are nice. So it has many uses.
That's amazing. I will take note of that just so I can use it for myself. And then, Aline, how about you? Tell us give us some Portuguese, some Brazilian dialect. Give us some.
Well, there are so many Brazilians, let's say like that, words that I love, and I keep using just Carla. Even if I'm speaking in English, it's natural that comes up. I think I'll follow the same line of thought from Carla, and that's a word that we use a lot in Brazil, that is beleza. Beleza means beauty, okay? But as a slang, we use it also to say, that's cool, that's nice, that's so good. So, for example, how are you, Santi? How is everything going? All good. And you could say, beleza. Or like, do you want to go out? Do you want to do something later? Can I pass that to your house to pick you up? Beleza. Like, cool, yeah. Just to say, yeah, sure.
All right. Well, that's amazing. And also, it's kind of like it's an uplifting word. I could use it to boost my self-esteem constantly. And my word from Argentina, Buenos Aires, is boludo. Boludo is basically, it's a multi-functional word. You can use it to call someone an idiot. You can say that when someone's doing something stupid. You can say they're doing boludeces. And it's also a term of endearment. So you can say, che, boludo, how are you? It's just a way that us Argentines can show some aggression and love at the same time.
I love it.
It's amazing.
That's it, guys. Thank you for sharing. I feel much more educated. And now just moving on to the podcast, tell us a bit, because you guys kind of led on, tell us a bit about your FARFETCH journey. Carla, if you want to start.
Yes. I came to Portugal. I need to start from the beginning. I came to Portugal 6 years ago, and before coming to Portugal, I was a lawyer and a university professor in Venezuela. And when I joined FARFETCH, I was already for 1.5 years in Portugal, and in that moment, I was working as a customer service team manager. And I entered in FARFETCH, and now I'm on the brand success team. I'm providing strategic operational support for brand partners. And when I entered FARFETCH, I felt like they were very supportive with me. I was during my first years here in Portugal. I was only a year and a half. And before entering FARFETCH, I never used Portuguese at all, always speaking in Spanish at home. And I used to work always in Spanish or in English. So my Portuguese skills were zero. And FARFETCH was very supportive of this. They enrolled me in Portuguese lessons, which is the foundation for my Portuguese knowledge now. And they were also supported in the way that I was always able to work in Spanish and in English. I never felt that I had any barriers with the language, even though I was in a Portuguese speaking country, knowing nothing about the language in the moment. It was amazing. And not only in that aspect, FARFETCH was also very welcoming with me as an immigrant. They were always friendly, and I'm so glad that I joined in the moment I did, because they were like the pillar stone of my migration journey. I'm here alone, just with my husband in Portugal, and I think that FARFETCH is the closest to family that I have, being so far away from home.
Amazing. It's nice to hear that. I think most of us on this call all are immigrants, or at least I'm first generation, but I did live outside for most of the time. So it's comforting to hear that you had such a nice and like warm welcome from FARFETCH. And just as a follow-up question to that, two of them specifically, if I'm ever in trouble, can I use you as my lawyer? Can I have you as a legal contact?
Of course, I will be the first one jumping in to help you.
Amazing. I might need it soon-ish.
Let's hope you don't.
Let's hope I don't, but you always have to have a lawyer nearby.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, you spoke on like the being welcomed and being from a very different background. How is that something that you've adjusted to FARFETCH?
Well, this is something that I also appreciate, because FARFETCH has a very international environment, and they had a deep understanding of my skills. Not only because you can see that I am a lawyer and that I'm a professor, but there is a lot behind it. For example, on the brand success team, I can use my skills from my both areas to do my job, and also to develop, and I still feel like I'm still practicing. Some people ask me oh, but you're not practicing law or teaching anymore. But in some way, I still feel like I am, because I still need to use those skills. For example, to be a lawyer, you need to use analytical skills and also communication skills. And this is something we deeply use in the brand success team. We analyze information. We analyze the performance of our partners. We do many things that in which I can use those skills that I have, especially also the communication skill, negotiation skills, and everything. And also we do something very special, which is to work on training with our partners, to also help them improve their performance, and also to be acquainted with FARFETCH tools, etc. And I could also use my teaching skills in this area of this role. And also, when you are a professor, you need to plan, you need to organize, you need to evaluate progress. So these are skills that I have from my previous experience and studies that I can perfectly apply in this position, and that are totally compatible. So I think this is something great. And FARFETCH has many areas of development for people from different backgrounds.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It's really good to know, and I can vouch for the fact that you are a very good teacher. You've helped me a lot, so it's really good to hear. Aline, how are you?
I'm great, Santi. So following up after Carla, I have a background in economics and digital marketing, but before joining FARFETCH 15 months ago, I was an entrepreneur. I had 2 small businesses in Brazil, and one of them was a small boutique. So in my role as a brand success, I can kind of relate and emphasize with a lot of the struggles and pain points, And I think this is also an asset that I bring on. I am super happy to be in this team. Our team is very united, and we just feel like we are working together towards the same goals. The Todos Juntos spirits from FARFETCH values are very felt every day.
And now moving on to like the main course of the podcast. What is Farland and how is it created? What is it that you're trying to do? And if you give us an explanation of how it came to fruition and the reason why or how you guys decided to make it and why you felt it was needed.
Sure, Santi. So FARLAN is FARFETCH Latin American Network that Carla and I created back in November 2020. FARLAN was created because Carla and I, first of all, felt the need to have a voice as Latin Americans. We felt the need to have representation, and we also wanted to give Latin American Farfetchers a voice. We really care and are very passionate about our cultures, and we want to bring awareness about Latin American culture. We want to help Farfetchers to grow professionally. We want to support our community with mentorship programs, with listening sessions to know their pain points and how FARFETCH can do better for them.
Amazing. You're doing good work. I've seen it firsthand, and it's so comforting to know that someone thought of this and was able to bring it to fruition, and is not only doing that, but is doing the job you guys are doing. And speaking a bit more on this and following that tangent, Carla, could you tell us what like the main objective, at least for FARLAN, is now or for 2021, just so the viewers know what we want to discuss and what we want to bring forward with this group?
Yes, we have our mission and goals, but I will explain this in my own words. First of all, we created this community for the need to bring all Latin Americans in FARFETCH together. And for this community, we have three main objectives for 2021. The first one will be, of course, to have a community of Latin Americans and allies to help to promote equality and also diversity and inclusion. And this is going great. We have united the Latin American community in Brazil, in the US, UK, Europe. So this is great. We are expecting to grow more and also to reach even Latin Americans in Asia and continue bringing this sense of family to all Latin Americans in FARFETCH. As everyone knows, family, it's a main core value for Latin Americans. So for us, this is very important. And the second one will be to raise awareness, because we realize that Latin American culture outside of Latin American is not very well known, just like the basics, and then just the basics, and you don't know what is behind it. So we had a deep history behind everything and many interesting facts and information that we could share with people. And of course, in order to value something, you need to know it. So I think it's very important for people to know Latin American culture, to understand us in order to move forward. And the third objective we have for 2021 is to empower Latin Americans Farfetchers to grow their careers, to motivate them and to make them aware that they can still progress in their careers.
I think it's really interesting to hear all these points, because it seems like a very well thought out three-pronged approach, and hopefully we'll start seeing it, we'll start promoting it soon enough, and just really happy to see how it evolves and how it impacts the community and how your work is just going to help pull people up. So just an admirable thing you guys are doing, and we're all happy to be participating and to also be a witness just to it. And in that line, I know you spoke on this and you said it perfectly, Carla. Aline, we kind of want to know your take on this. What is the main objective from your point of view on what FARLAN should be doing for this year?
Well, I have to agree with Carla that first of all, we just want the community to connect with each other. I mean, Latin Americans from all over the world, in all FARFETCH offices, to have a place to come together and feel like we share, because we share joys and we share struggles as a minority. So first of all, to have this community united and have this safe place where we can come to. And then, of course, one of our main objectives from the beginning was just to help Latin Americans in FARFETCH to thrive professionally and support them any way we can with mentorship programs, with language lessons, with anything that they would need to just grow professionally and have their place. Because as any minority, we feel like not only having representation in higher management roles, but also feeling like you have support to do it yourself. It's very, very important.
Carla, you spoke about the main objectives we have in this group, and I think the thing to ask here is why those objectives exist. So what are the challenges facing Latin American workers in the corporate world?
Yes, Santi. Latin Americans, as a minority, we face several challenges, but there is one that I can pinpoint, which is the stereotypes that we have to face, especially the stereotypes we see on televisions and in movies, how they portray Latin Americans. Then this is translated to real life, and when we are trying to apply for a position or to find a job, we can see that there is a misconception that we don't have the best education. Like people sometimes think that the quality of our education is not the best, or maybe sometimes they think we didn't even have any education at all. So I think it's a stereotype that was created worldwide and that affects us in general. And this is a challenge that we need to face, because then when we are trying to apply to a position, we sometimes feel that we need to prove ourselves more than other people, because we have this misconception that we are not capable of, or that we have lesser qualifications. Just to give you an example, last night I was watching a series, and it was in a hospital, and the director of the hospital was like giving these motivational talks with different teams in the hospital. And when he was talking with the cleaning crew of the hospital, he was talking in Spanish, and they were all Latin Americans. And then he continued talking with other teams, and they were all English speakers and like from other different ethnicities, but none of them were Latin America. We couldn't see any other Latin American representation in any other team in that series. So this is just an example, because we can see that in movies and series, there is this stereotype being portrayed that we are always in the lowest levels of the company or in the entry levels. And this is something that really, really affects us. It's one of the things we are facing as a minority, but I think it's the one that as a worker could impact us more.
Amazing. I would love to hear, Aline, and just know what you think on the issues that we mentioned.
Well, I could not agree more with Carla. I mean, I think mainly representation is what we need. Any minority group needs to see that they can really reach the top. We need more examples of Latin Americans as CEOs, as leaders. So this can inspire also entry-level workers to know that it's possible to get there.
Amazing. And just relating a bit to that and how Latin Americans are perceived, when we speak about Latin Americans, or when society speaks about Latin Americans, we tend to speak as if they are a monolith, just one huge homogenous group with no differences, when in reality Latin American isn't a race, it's a heritage. So you're going to have Afro-Latinos, you're going to have Asian Latinos, which is a huge community. And it's enormously diverse. We have different languages. There are even countries in Latin America which speak English, which is something people don't necessarily know, or they speak French. And I just want to see what your thoughts are on this way that we are perceived as just one big, equal group.
I think this is one of the things that I find more interesting about our culture, because we are seen as a united culture, but yes, we also have many differences. The first thing to remember is that we come from a similar background. We have a shared history of colonization. And then all the aftermath that came due to this colonization, and then the decolonization process itself, it all generated consequences in all of the countries that are similar and are shared experiences, good and bad. But in the good ones, we can mention this mix of cultures. We can see how with time, the European, indigenous, then African, and also Asian culture was mixed. Yes, in the end, we were mixing all these cultures and had as a result this beautiful new hybrid culture that we created, that we cannot say that we are 100% one of those. We are a mixture of everything. And we can see this in our food, in our music, even in the religion. There is a huge influence of African religion in the Latin American religion, mixed with Catholic religion brought by the Europeans. And sometimes you can see that we have all these similarities, but then we have to remember that, as you said, we are 33 countries, and these are different cultures that, although we have shared hybrid experience and situations that we can relate and make us close, also we have some differences that are beautiful.
Wow.
I speak a lot. I'm sorry.
No, it was good. I mean, I think we all agree on that sometimes things have to be said. And I think that when we speak well and from the heart, it's never a lot. So I think we're doing amazing. And just to get a bit more of a rounded idea, Aline, if you want to give us a notion of just these same thoughts that Carla said.
Well, I think Latin America can never be seen as a monolith. I mean, we are so diverse, such rich cultures. There are, of course, similarities, but the uniqueness is what I think is more strong. We have 33 different countries, and each one of them have a beautiful, diverse culture, different foods, different dances, different cultural expressions. And it all comes from a big mix of European, indigenous, African background that together makes us very, very unique as Latin Americans as a whole, because I think the spirit of being Latin Americans is vibrant. We are happy people. Of course, I'm not saying that we are always happy, but we try always to have a smile on our faces, to face adversities with a positive mind. I see that as a trait when I meet a Latin American colleague at work, outside work. We try to face adversities in a positive way. We are used to facing adversities back in our countries. Our countries still suffers with a lot of inequalities. We see that every day in our countries. We see people who need the basics and people with a lot of money and wealth. So we are kind of used to fighting to get to the top, to be successful, to have a good education, and everything else seems easy. When we are immigrants, for example, as Carla and I are in Portugal, coming to a new country and just adapting and starting a life makes everything else seem so easy, like daily tasks in our jobs or challenges that we may face with our clients. These are easy things that we can face with ease and a smile.
I want to add to what Aline is saying is that yes, I can relate because I came to Portugal looking for a new life, for a new hope, because even though I was succeeding in my career in Venezuela, the country was going through a hard time, a difficult situation, and when I came to Portugal, which for me in comparison it's a paradise, I can understand how something that when we come from such a challenging environment and countries, we can face anything. So I can relate to what Aline said, because the experiences we had in our countries shape us, and yes, then we can feel that these experiences made us stronger to face anything. This is something I always say to my manager, and they laugh. Like, I don't get stressed because I face worse, so this for me it's fine. So I never feel like this pressure and this stress, like because I'm already used to more intense situations. Like, just a quick example. Like, I couldn't use my phone on the streets because I need to be mindful not to be robbed. So this is something that you don't have here, and that is already releasing stress in my mind. That gives me more space to other things, and to perform better, and to do things in a more with peace of mind. This is something that's very important.
That's really good. I think what you've been saying is on point. I can relate to this, just being from Argentina, and I think the point here is beyond the growth and the resilience of Latin American people. It's that we always carry our culture with us. We take it on ourselves, and we try to share it. And I think that's one of the points of this podcast, what we're doing now, and what you guys are doing with your own stuff. And in the spirit of that, I think it's and to end on a light-hearted note, and not just people stealing cell phones. What do you take with you? So if you have to introduce, I always speak on food. So what food, for example, do you or would you like to introduce to people from your country?
I could start with our Christmas dish, which is hallaca. It's so hard to make, but so good to eat. Is the best. I love it because it's a full meal in just one wrapping banana leaf. It's amazing. So just to make it fast, because I talk a lot, so just to make it fast, this is kind of like a tamale, yeah, from Mexico, but it has different ingredients and it's bigger. So this is something that was originated on the colony times, and this is something that the indigenous made from the leftovers of food from the Spanish people, and then they mix it with their own ingredients, and they use corn to make the dough, and then they wrap it in a banana leaf and boil it. But now, of course, it's not with leftovers, it's with normal ingredients, but it's amazing because you have like this mixture of flavors, because they weren't like trying to make a huge recipe. They were just mixing what they had, and it's so good. And the banana leaf gives it like a nice touch. So yeah, hallaca, it's with H, so hallaca.
Okay, noted. Please, any foodie, drop a link if you know any place where we could order this in any of our many, many regions across the globe. And from Brazil, is there anything else? Any food that you're like, hey, people have to try this?
Oh my God, I miss Brazilian food so much. I love Brazilian food. It's very hard for me to pick one. But if I had to pick, the thing that I miss most is a dish called tapioca. It's original from my region, and it started with the African American slaves. Basically, how can I explain to you what it is? It's like a crepe, but it's made with cassava flour, that in Brazil we call mandioca. And basically in this crepe you can add anything you want. Sweet, salty, anything goes well with tapioca, and I really, really miss it.
At least for me, I think it's simple. What we're known for across the world, it's dulce de leche, which is our version of caramel. I'm just going to do a shout out here. It is sort of regional. I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm not going to start a debate on this. So it's shared with Uruguay, and we both appreciate ourselves and respect each other as countries. So it's just great to have that, and it's so versatile. If you haven't had it, please order some, or at least I think there's a Starbucks drink that you can order now with it. So you can definitely find it. And nothing, both of you, thank you so much for joining today. It's been so fun and just comforting to speak with other Latinos. And again, thank you both for being here today and for joining us on today's episode of FARFETCH Threads. And thank you to everyone who has been listening. Please stay tuned and see you next time.
Thank you, Santi.
Thank you, Santi. It was a big pleasure for me.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you never miss an episode of FARFETCH Threads by subscribing to our Spotify and FARFETCH People YouTube channel. If you're ready to do what's never been done, visit farfetchcareers.com